What is polish? Polish is the last 10%. You're plussing a structure that's already established. It's already working. It's there to help strengthen acting ideas. It's helping the physical movement become more believable to the audience.
What's going on? She wants a confession. Confession? How? How can I confess to something I haven't done? It's the only way she's gonna pardon you. She's got nothing to pardon me for. I've done nothing. Don't you understand? Christ! What's going on? She wants a confession. Confession? How? How can I confess to something I haven't done? It's the only way she's gonna pardon you. She's got nothing to pardon me for. I've done nothing. Don't you understand? Christ! What's going on? She wants a confession. Confession? How? How can I confess to something I haven't done? It's the only way she's gonna pardon you. She's got nothing to pardon me for. I've done nothing. Don't you understand? Christ!
At this point, I'd like to look at my shot in sort of sections. Just because the shot is so big, it's sort of hard to focus it on the whole thing like that, especially when you're doing polish. Because polish is really all about the details. And if you have an entire shot, like a big shot, like 250 frames, which this shot is, it's hard to focus on those details. You can break up your shot into frames, so I can focus on the first 50 frames, and then just kind of work my way down my shot. Or you can break it up into phrases and just focus on the phrasing of your shot. For instance, here, what's going on? She wants a confession. Confession! There's the first part where he's sort of asking the question of what's going on, and then he's sort of just watching the character. So the first part of what's going on you could focus on. What's going on? She wants a confession. That's about 30 frames right there. The second part, which is more of a keep alive kind of part, she wants a confession. There's another 30 frames that I could focus on. And then there's this confession part where he does this take. That's the third section. Confession? How? So right there, you're starting to break up your shot in several sections because it just becomes a lot more manageable. This first part that we're going to look at with the hands during the confession take, one of the reasons it kind of stood out to me was it just felt like the hands were kind of going from an A to B pose for one thing. So just one pose and then going into another pose and sort of just locking. And they felt really solid and not really too organic. The other thing that kind of stood out to me was the table, they just didn't seem to react with the table, which is kind of what I was speaking about earlier with physical polish, and how sort of your character should interact with its environment. So from 57 to about 60, I think would be a good part to drag these two fingers. So my index, I'm going to bring this down, I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to bring my tip up a little bit. Bring this down and tip up. So it's really going to feel like he's really dragging that. So I'm posing this finger this way so that you really feel the resistance of the finger being pulled across the table. It's just that, you know, when it's doing this, you just want to really kind of feel that pushing across it. For instance, I'm having this finger drag, and I should have this thumb drag as well. So if I brought this thumb down, the base bend is down, so maybe the tip goes up a little bit. And then the thumb is going to kind of go inside the other hand, so I'm not really worried about its pose too much. But I do want that screen right thumb, where you're looking at right now, to react to that. So here you can really see the hands coming together and intersecting with each other. At this point, because there's intersections with the two hands, I'm going to work on the screen right hand. So from frame 60 to about 65 is what I want to work on, because that to me is sort of the end part of the hands coming together. Now, I actually think this relaxes actually too much. So well, the cool thing is that between 60 and 69, between the peak of the hands coming together and the relax, I can choose a frame in between there and then copy it over to frame 69 to make it my new final relaxed pose. Basically, I feel 69 is just too far, so I'm going to start going back, and then maybe this frame 67 is what I like. Put a key there and copy that over to frame 69. So now the hands will be relaxing less. Make sure that that is flat tangents. Up, and then, so they have a little bit of relax there, just a little bit. And I'll copy that over to 71, and then flatten my tangents so that I have 2 frames of basically the hands not moving before I start going into the next part, which is them opening up with the word how. But it's really this sort of beginning part that I'm trying to focus on. So as you can see, within 20 frames, there's just going to be a lot of polish. And this is just the hands going forward and the hands coming back together. And I had to basically kind of fake that there's going to be drag on both the fingers. I have to fake that there's drag on the way back with one of the hands. And then when they're coming together, I have to fake that interaction together. And it's just a lot of layers and a lot of details that go into this. All this is mainly because of the physicality of dealing with the table. To feel like that table is there and not just a 3D object with no physical parameters. It's there and you have to sell it to your audience. And the way to sell it is by doing all this little finesse. And this is just the first step of the finesse. Here we have a rough idea of the hands coming in together and reacting to each other. But now you have to take it a step further even and go into each finger and make sure that the contact is really working well with the table and with the other fingers. Now I can't go into every single little detailed polished note here because it just would take a long time. But hopefully you can just see how much work goes into this and the techniques used to maybe get that across. So after working in Maya and kind of finishing up all that polish, I have an after movie of just that section. Again, a dragging of the finger, making sure that there's contact here with this hand and that this finger here and the thumb is being dragged. And you can kind of see where the switch is happening here with this finger no longer dragging, but just sort of coming into a natural state and how it's pushing on the screen right index finger. And you can see how the thumb is pushing up on the other thumb here. The other thing is going to be the cuffs. You can see that the cuff is slightly moving here and being dragged the other way. So I'm dragging the cuff as well. Also elbows, and that he sort of has his elbows on the table. So during this part, I really want to make them sort of feel solid right here during the very beginning. And then just bring them up slowly. The tendency is that elbows really like to pop, especially with these kind of rigs. So really pay attention to your elbows because you really want ease in and ease out with them as well. There's a tendency to really, if you want, and later on in the shot I'm going to go into it, where I want a little bit of jiggle there to kind of show some tension maybe. But that's a very kind of a big area that I always notice that kind of gets kind of left behind are your elbows. And you can see here that, again, the elbows are very important. His elbows are against the table during the second part. It's very important to keep them lock solid. So right there was a really good example of physical polish. Just the table interacting with the hands interacting with each other, the elbows interacting with the table. It's the handcuffs interacting with the table, the handcuffs interacting with the hands. I mean, it's all interacting with each other, and it's really important to pay attention to that.